miss you guys. Oh my God.
Oh, so good to
Miss
see
you too.
you. Really.
Advertising first.
Okay.
A language other than English at home, and we help bridge the communication gap.
So can we start?
Hi, Noor.
Hello.
Sure. Hello, everybody.
Hello, my name is Mladen, and on behalf of the program committee, I would like to wish you all warm welcome and to introduce for first panel discussion today, titled Sales in a Connected World. This panel will be moderated by Nancy Hennel. Nancy is a German living in the Netherlands who speaks fluently 5 languages, and she's the founder of NH Global boutique consultancy with 20 years of experience in language industry, sales leadership, and marketing strategy. She helps companies to turn local achievements into international success. I hope that we will all have a chance to learn more about how the old can be replaced by new approaches, and you are all invited to contribute to the panel by asking questions, sharing your experience, or giving upvote to already asked questions. And of course, questions with the most upvotes will have an advantage in the selection during Q&A session. Nancy, I'm giving the floor to you and your panelists.
Thank you, Mladen, for the introduction and your kind words and facilitating the session. I'm really honored. Thank you, GALA, for the opportunity to organize this panel around a very important topic, sales in a connected world. I'm absolutely happy to have really competent and lovely people here on board, which I will introduce in a couple of minutes. Let me just give you a bit of information how this will work, how we will use this hour, and warm up the topic. So thank you, of course, as well, while I'm sharing my screen to the audience. Thanks everyone who is joining here. We can't see you, unfortunately, not yet. So that's why I can just encourage you, if you have any feedback, anything you want to share, just let us know in the chat here, right? Make you noticeable. That we like that. The screens are coming out.
Yeah.
And so, regarding the agenda, we will first have a little warm-up, then a poll. We would like to know a little bit more about you as audience. And then I will call the panelists on board who will introduce themselves, and then we'll have a question round discussion touching sales in the new world, the marketing side, as well tools, but also what is the new mix of capabilities in this world. At the end of the session, we will make sure we have enough time for you all to ask questions or to contribute in your way to the session. And in case you can't wait until the end, then just let us know during the session. Your comments are always welcome. So diving right into the topic with actually a step out of our industry, I think it's always important to look out of the box, and from looking from an overall perspective, Gartner says 80% of B2B sales interactions between suppliers and buyers will occur in digital channels by 2025. 80%. That is a lot. And this is because 33%, a third of the buyers desire a seller-free sales experience. What is a seller-free sales experience? Or what are we talking about here today? Exactly. Of course, you know that the millennials are coming up, and that the baby boomer generation will retire soon, and the millennials apparently are asking for seller-free sales experience. But of course, let's dive into our industry, into the language solution industry, and what does the whole change, the digital shift, the pandemic, and this prediction mean to us? From inside our language industry, there is a strong ambition for growth. I've been looking again at the CSA Research report on growth translation sales that has been published in January 2021, at the beginning of this year. And I just picked out 3 key facts to warm up the conversation, right? And then I will call the panelists in for the discussion. Fact number 1, marketing is undergoing a major transformation. In that research, a third of the respondents actually said they were planning on reducing their investment in offline marketing channels. So offline marketing channels, what is this in this case? Trade shows, networking events, printed mailers, and so on. And instead, they would prefer to increase their investment in digital marketing. In our industry, digital marketing means mainly strong websites, email campaigns, search engine optimization, and many more, of course. Fact number 2, sales teams are becoming larger. It seems that 57% of the respondents intended to increase their sales teams this year. However, for these new recruits to be successful, LSPs must have a strong infrastructure to support them. Otherwise, they won't succeed. And fact number 3 that I picked out from that valuable research is expansion is in the plans. An impressive 60% of the respondents, which were mainly LSPs, were planning to pursue new target verticals and geographies in 2021. That's because they struggle to reach desired growth levels within their existing markets, or because they are starting to formalize their approach in segmentation, a concept that comes from marketing. Yeah, so ambitious plans, how are they going to do this? Or the question is actually, how are you going to do this, right? So happy to call on stage. First is Rachel Ali. Happy to see you.
And you too.
So taking back my slide, it's your chance. Let us know your story, brief summary, and what is actually your position in this new world of sales.
So hello, everybody. I'm Rachel, and I am an expert in business growth and relationship development. My background is in operations and sales, and I've been in the industry for 15 years. I'm from the UK, and for the last 8 years living in the Netherlands. And my current role is as a country manager at the Big Word. And I guess in terms of the idea of this new world that we're in now, I really thought, Nancy, about what is different and what is important now. And I would say that in my ever living goal of keeping things simple is that we need to listen, and we need to listen differently. I think that's one of the main the main things that I keep in the front of my mind at the moment. And what do I mean by that? Well, of course, there's changes. There's changes in people. There's changes in their behaviours now. And we need to really hear what people need. There's amazing amounts of research out there, the stuff that you're doing yourself in your business about understanding the way that, that customers want to interact with us. There's research, and it's really important. But then what that just seems to be showing us over and over again is that there's a change. But what is that change? So what does your individual customer need, and what people need is really, really varying so much now, that you might know someone. I guess the thing is, you think you know a client, or you know a prospect, or you know what they're expecting from you, but we need to now treat every interaction like it was the first interaction, because the things that we know, or we think that we know, are completely thrown up in the air. And anything that's a research right now is, well, the research into the unknown still, isn't it? So for me, listening, and listening like we just met for the first time, every time.
Very good. Thank you, Rachel. I was supposed to introduce you, but thank you for your introducing words. And I think it's very important indeed. And there's no time for that. Listening, because that provides the data, the information you need to adapt to the changes. Because it's not you determine what actually the change is, right?
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah.
We will come back to that later. So I'm calling on stage now Noor Eldin Hussein. Very happy to see you here. And I think it's a very valid person to speak about sales and marketing and growth and many other things. You are the Chief Growth Officer at Tarjama. Noor brings over 14 years of experience in growth and business development across Europe and the EMEA technology markets, a passionate enthusiast for automation and technology. And at Tarjama, you manage the growth of the company through the tech solutions, all geared to empower Arabic-speaking solutions. Noor also coaches startups and is the growth partner for Evolute 6 and a board member for the 1 Billion Africa. Welcome on stage. Happy to have you, and please share your position or perspective on the topic to start with.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nancy. It's really great being here, and thanks for the wonderful introduction. I think what you mentioned earlier is 100% correct. The world is changing, and sales is probably one of the oldest professions. Since the first person ever thought of a product, this is when sales started. But with the world is changing, it's very interesting to see that a lot of organizations are still thinking with the same traditional mindset of you hire a salesperson, you have them, this is your target, just go hit the market, etc. Add more pressure, because that's how salespeople are going to work. And the difference between generations, boomers, millennials, you need to understand that when you're trying to grow a business, you need to think of the 4 P's. Let's say purpose once and for all. Then you start thinking of people. Then you look at your product, and then you start getting into the profit. Because how we manage people right now, this is the greatest and the most important asset that an organization would potentially have. Of course, there's a lot of amazing thoughts, ideas, and insights that I capture from a lot of my peers on how marketing should start changing the way of, instead of making people want things, you need your marketing to be your eyes and ears, and you start making things that people want. Or instead of enforcing your sales team to try to focus on the product that the company wants to sell, but just to focus a little bit more about the outcome that the customer really wants. So it's not just about selling or about marketing. Your entire organization and its purpose and product needs to be aligned with what you have to do. And I'm sure everyone also on the panel, and even the attendees on the call, would completely understand. We've all seen these organizations and sales teams who they don't believe in their product. They don't believe it serves a value, but they're still going to hit the phone. They're still going to pitch it. They're still going to follow up like crazy because they have quotas to hit. And that's the difference between trying to have sustainable growth versus more of a hit and run. Let's hit the targets as fast as possible. Let's get this commission, and then let's move on to the next organization. So yeah, it's exciting times, and I can't wait to see more of the questions and engagement from the team as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Noor. Thank you so much. I like the idea of, first of all, looking back. Something has a long history, so it has changed many times. Why shouldn't we change again now, right? And of course, indirectly, of course, I'm thinking as well during your introduction about KPIs. It cannot only be a KPI driven thing. And sales actually is a bad word, right? It's not about sales. It's much more than sales. Call it whatever you want. Maybe at the end of the session, or there's some proposal from the audience. But now I'm really happy to call on stage Johannes Karagiannis, den griechischen Sonnengott.
Yes, Nancy.
After more than 20 years of experience in our industry, and with a never-ending passion for languages and communication that I can confirm from translator to sales, Johannes is now country sales manager for Accolade Group, providing language service technology solutions to companies globally. Welcome here.
Thank you very much, Nancy. Hello, everybody. I cannot disagree with what has been just said by Rachel and Noor. Really, that's all the points raised are very really relevant. I would just add something that for me it's important. I think it's to stay close to its customers, to one's customer, stay connected to the customer as well, know the customer. This is, I think, very important. Once you are involved with this customer, you become a partner. You are just not a provider. You are a partner. You can go to events with your customers. You can bring facilities to the customers. So with all what has been said, I fully agree. But I think that the role of sales, and we have two roles here in Accolade. We have in my team account managers, and we have also business development managers. Their roles are completely different. And for the account managers, we expect that they maintain, develop this relationship by staying connected, and for BDMs to go and find new opportunities, more a hunter profile, as we can say. Maybe it's maybe a little bit pejorative, but it's like that. And I agree, KPIs might not be only the most important thing, but I think also in the management of the team, it's important to follow up the activities, to see where, and to anticipate also the role of each person, each individual in his team. If we see that the activity is decreasing, there are a lot of reasons that can happen for sales to feel not well in their position, maybe a lack of motivation, or maybe a lack of guidance. And then the sales manager must question himself and try to find really the good motivation, the right motivation to push the people, to bring the people up, not to bring them down, but to really push them up so that they feel well in their position, in each of this position, and can have this relationship with the customers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. You make me remind of the customer as a business place, not a client. Yeah. And thank you also for the insight into how the team is organized in your organization. I would say we are warmed up. Let's go to the questions, right? There is one question for each of you that each of you has the chance to answer first. Everyone has the chance to answer our questions, of course. And happy for questions from the audience. We will take them up at the end, of course, right? So first question goes to Rachel. You knew that, right?
Yes. I was more worried about turning mute off, my favorite error.
So the current behavioral shift is substantial. And so substantial that maybe our strategies might not longer be valid. So does your sales approach still make sense to your customers in the new normal? And how do you stay successful?
Yeah. I mean, first things, first the acknowledgement of the new normal. The long games are definitely here, an observation in terms of data and insights, and so is uncertainty. So, being stable, being a stable partner for your clients is, I think, more important than ever. Therefore, going back to your question, no, of course that's a fundamental, but I think a big thing now is enthusiasm and motivation is now, in sales or in business development, account management, relationship management, any area that's relating to customer, which is basically your entire business, right? You've got to be enthusiastic enough for yourself in tough times, and for all those other parts of your organization. So, which I think is no change to the world before. That's something that you've got to be as a sales leader. You've got to drive that, but you've got to also you've got to think of how you're going to do that, and how you're going to keep building that motivation up. And I mentioned also the long game, right? So hand in hand with your driving force and pushing yourself forward and pushing yourself harder than ever before, you've got to plan for it. And I think that one of the things we've got a little bit more now, controversial, is time. Just on a practical level, working from home, no problem. Suddenly losing all of those face-to-face contact points. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, horror show. Absolutely miss all of that all the time. And but what does it give me? We've got to constantly look on the bright side, and it is more time for more touch points. So going back to, what was the world before? High levels of activity, keeping yourself motivated and other people motivated, and having good plans in place that I'll come back to. It's all just got to be more. So I would not say that old ways of working, old strategies are not right, but it's that, like, as we were discussing before, changing the way that you do it, and dealing with things a little bit differently. I mean, in terms of how it can be the same as before, the same people that would meet you or would jump on a conference call are the same people that will go on a video call. So if we're talking to the shift to digital, more video calls, come on, let's do it. And it's easier for that, it's easier to do that, and it's easier to do more. And I think that every touch point we create now also has more opportunity to it. So I know we're going to be talking more about digital marketing and more content, and more, increasing your digital presence, your online presence all the time, and doing it differently. Every touch point that we have, whether it's on the phone or in an email, is a chance to do even more. So,
So you say more channels, but any touch point, any channel, any chance you have to interact with the client, to talk to people, is a chance. So
everything is a chance. And if somebody's a bit more of an email person that doesn't want to engage in a call, video, outside of email, then now we've suddenly got more content, more things. I think all of our businesses are doing it, right? Increasing that presence. And if we're increasing that presence, we're increasing the things that we can send to those customers that are a bit more, less wanting to engage and speak and go through that channel for a communication. But you've got more stuff to send. So I don't know.
I think you're a relationship builder.
Yes.
Whichever means tools you have. I think that's how I know you, and that's what I get from what you said. I would be really interested in hearing whether Noor or Johannes, whether you have a different perspective or something you want to add about, is your sales approach does it still make sense in this new normal, and how do you in your organization remain successful in this changing world of B2B sales?
Go ahead.
Okay, just very quickly, but I think, I agree with Rachel. The thing I would add is also to bring content value as well, added value in contents that we share on social networks, on our visibility. Again, I get back to this visibility and connection towards clients, because I think it's very important to create those channels as well. We have the chance to have social networks like LinkedIn and others that can broadcast your message very rapidly and can be shared, can be reposted, posted. So it's very important, I think, for sales in our industry to be visible. And I know, because there are a lot of companies here, that we are all trying the same, and we are all trying to be visible, but visible, of course, for prospects, but also for our clients. This is very important. especially in period of RFPs, for instance. It's very essential that our partners, our clients, know that we are creating valued content and that we are proposing new events, new webinars, for instance, with webinars where, for instance, clients can participate as well on specific topics. I think that's the best message that we can broadcast to prospects and clients is to make our clients speak about what we can do, what we have done for them. That's the best testimonial, I think, for to speak about us, not ourselves speaking about us, but our clients speaking about what has been done, in all objectivity, of course. But that's, I think, very important in our sales approach nowadays.
Content marketing aligned with sales. Yeah. Great.
Absolutely.
And
I
Noor.
completely agree to that. And I think just to also add on what Rachel and Johannes mentioned, I think it's important to understand that the customer today is the most educated and aware that they've ever been before. No one sells anything to anyone anymore. No one gets sold something. You're not going to convince someone to buy something they don't need for a price that they can't afford because, knock, knock, there's Google, there's everything is available online right now. What the world and what the market is looking for now is trustworthy advisors. And I think that's really the direction that we try to really push our team more is customers want to trust the person that they are speaking with. So the old mindset of trying to trick your customers into paying more, it might help you today, but it's not going to help you on the long run. So we always try to re-emphasize the message around no one ever sold anything. So don't fool yourself into thinking this. If you have a solid product and you project manage the communication process with your customer, then you will be successful. And at the end of the day, you need to also understand that if you're not going to buy the product as a salesperson, don't sell it because it's unethical. You need to be confident that if I'm in that position, in that role for that, I see the ROI, I see the value. And more importantly, also, as an organization, you need to be clear that you can and you should walk away from deals. Your brand is a lot more important than a monthly quota. And if your entire team and organization understands that, it changes the way you measure individuals. It changes the way from just static metrics based on performance and reviews into inspiring and incentivizing behavior that drives a better outcome for the whole organization. So your employees feel empowered and accountable for the customer outcome. And that goes back to Johannes and Rachel and what they were saying about just customer centricity right now. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Wonderful. And a long-term strategy, right? It's not a quarterly strategy. It's a long-term strategy. Yeah. Let's get back for a moment to this digital shift. I really want to know, I presented these numbers from Gartner before. 80% of the interaction will be online. That's quite a change. And those numbers are, of course, across all industry over the next 5 years. So still a way to go. But I mean, is this really something new for our industry? Our industry has always been global, international. Interaction has been international. So is it new, and to which extent? And this question goes first to Johannes.
Yeah, it's about also the relationship with buyers. I think it's very important. I think our industry has managed to go through the pandemic because the pandemic has really changed the rules of the sales game. It has sped up processes. I have seen, at the beginning of the pandemic, lots of companies, lots of our clients that were shutting doors because either the factories were closing, people were on furlough, less employees, available to call and to discuss with. So what was very important for sales was to keep in touch with the people and multiply the occasions to discuss with them. So that's why all the Teams, Zoom, and WebEx meetings have boomed a lot. And really, I've seen that in different organizations. I have seen that using this new tools, new methods that were less used before. We must be honest. We used online meetings before the pandemic already, but we always prefer to have an on-site, client meeting to discuss directly, to discuss really difficult points. This has shifted really on Teams, Zoom, and WebEx, and I think in a successful way, because what I personally have seen is that, for instance, the relationship with buyers is more direct and more constructive via Teams. I don't know if Noor and Rachel can share that, but it's less formal. It's more casual. It's more direct. We can speak directly with the people. We can have some talk before starting the meeting. So it has made things a little bit more direct and a little bit easier. I don't say it's easy now to get the buyers convinced, but it has changed the way we address to people. Whereas I've been in personal meetings, I didn't know the buyer. You have the feeling, oh, you are having an exam or something like that. So it's via Teams, Zoom, and other kind of meetings. Other people were also involved in the meeting. There are more discussions. So I think really that through this pandemic, we have achieved to have a very constructed and efficient communication through these channels, Teams, etc. I don't know what you think, Rachel and Noor, but this is my personal opinion about that, and really the experience I had.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. That everybody is always trying to fit more into their day, and obviously a Teams meeting or a WebEx, so it's quicker. You can do more, and we can't forget that, and that's one of the things that certainly with growing business, you're always trying to find that more time. But yeah, also that you can have a bit more. You use the word like informal, and it
Yeah.
is. First, I've already shared. I'm devastated about the reduction in going out into the world, traveling, meetings, but you can get perhaps more out of discussions. You can have more conversations. People are perhaps more inclined to have another video call than they are to arrange another on-site meeting, because that's effort and requires. And so suddenly, yeah, you find yourself with a few more meetings, a bit more of an informal, and if you can, and if it's more easy to get. I use that word very carefully, just like you did. Easy. If you can get more in that way and get people on the phone more, then actually that's going back to what Noor was saying about KPIs and activity, and of course it's extremely important. We keep the activity levels up, but it's then more meaningful activity. You might be more likely to get a Teams call than a phone call, and then that could have more impact. So yeah, see certainly the positive side of this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I echo what Rachel and Ioannis say. I think one of the things we've, other than time, that for me is the fundamental element. You could literally have 8 customer meetings in a single day, if
Yeah.
not more, just online, straight back-to-back wrap-up call, next one wrap-up call. And being in Riyadh now, for example, having 2 to 3 meetings a day takes 8 to 9 hours, just in between commute, back, etc. So there's definitely a pro in there as well. Obviously, the cons are very, very clear, but there's one element that I think is very interesting, is that over the next 5 years, we're not just talking about millennial sellers, we're also talking about millennial buyers. So over the next 5 years, millennial buyers are likely to take over the remaining 50% of the current B2B decision makers. And you start seeing this now also in a lot of the markets, particularly in the Middle East, where there's a huge boom on the youth taking on more leadership role, and they're all digital native, so they have a very different buying behavior than their previous generation. They don't like cold calls. They don't schedule demos with strangers. They prefer to discover the brands themselves rather than through digital means, which means that some of the even traditional sales setups that, you know, a VP sales or a head of sale would get into a company, and then what would you do? First thing, you know, email marketing, cold calls, outbounds, or hire SDRs, set up that process, set targets, go, is not necessarily going to work. You need to understand that your buyers themselves also have preferences. So currently, one of the challenges is a lot of times my team is asking for meetings, and the customers, but why? We could just do it on Zoom. Like, how different is that going to be? Because they're completely, their whole life is digital. Their managers are remote, their team is remote, they're working from home. So for them, what difference is that going to make? However, there's certain human touch elements that you just cannot replace. There's just an element of comfort and trust that happens just right after a physical meeting, just a quick coffee with someone. So it's going to be hard navigating this, particularly if your buyer personas are changing. But if we don't try to fundamentally change the standard philosophies of how sales is, then it's definitely not going to be effective.
I'm really getting excited. I have to say something. Thank you so much for what you built with the three. And you were touching now, Noor, the seller-free experience, actually, right? The seller-free experience. And what I got from what you said, Rachel and Johannes, is that, of course, there are the tools. They change the reality. It's virtual, it's digital, it's tools. And you have more conversations. And it's virtual, not in person, but still you're able to build that relationship. Still you're able to get close to the other person, even if it's through Teams or Zoom or whichever tool. So that is really interesting. And that ties into the fact that according to a survey that we carried out at NH Global at the beginning of the year, the channel survey, you're aware of that probably. So for everyone, personal relationship was still as important. So there are all these channels in our industry, whichever it's being on LinkedIn, it's being here on GALA, it's being on Lock Lunch, on Lock Home, and on Lock Life, on Lock Bar, on Lock Drink, on Lock whatever. But the personal relationship, whether virtual or in person next to you in San Diego, that is, if you're capable of doing that, then this is essence. Huh? Of course, more than this. So let's move on with the next question, which will go to you, Noor. Let's go back for a moment to those. According to CSA, 60% of the language solution providers here worldwide want to grow, are expanding into new target markets. So more than half of them are increasing the size of their sales teams, right? And apart from, of course, the mergers and acquisitions that are ongoing, most LSPs plan to grow by adding salespeople. So how, maybe I should ask more directly. You have managed, or you are managing, a successful growth program at Tarjama. So what is your advice, if you are open to give some advice from your perspective? Is there a perfect salesperson, or are there other elements that we should be aware of when we want to grow?
Yeah, I mean, very powerful question. And of course, it's a constant learning process. No one really has all the answers. You have to constantly learn from your peers, educate yourself. I think one of the things I think it's almost a prediction or so. I predict, in a way, customer success is probably going to play a more important role and potentially become even one of the main sources of lead generation and growth over the coming years. I might be wrong, but I mean, we'll meet in 5 years and see if that's the case. I think COVID shows us also how expensive it is now to acquire a new customer. It was much easier to acquire new customers. Right now, it's much harder. More importantly, also, the onboarding of a new business person now is an absolute nightmare. And I know everyone on the call, it used to be much easier to hire someone, bring them in the office, run through a couple of weeks of training and induction, and they'll learn from their peers. Right now, there are people that we have in everywhere have joined an organization, and for 8 months, they have not met a single person. How do you expect this person to learn as well? So it's becoming really hard, which means that you cannot afford to lose customers. So previously, having an attrition rate of 10 to 15% or renewal rate of 85% was fine, was acceptable, because you're winning more and more customers. But now you really have to focus on retaining your customers, and a 95 to, we push for a 98 retention rate, because losing a customer is, you have to think of the full customer lifetime value. So customer success, which I think was introduced first by Salesforce. And if you think about it, Salesforce, the largest CRM in the world, and the best minds from sales think that this is a relevant role. It tells a little bit of something. It needs to start growing massively. And I think I wouldn't be surprised even if they become almost an extension of the client themselves. When customers are purchasing a tool or a system, they previously wanted an implementation manager or project manager to come on site and help, etc. Currently, customer success are more trustworthy. They are not incentivized by the standard sales incentives. They are incentivized by how delighted the customer is. And that makes them have a bit of a shift in mindset as well. That isn't a happy customer, is a spending customer as well, that is delighted to continue. Which means that we also have to look at how do we extract value and speed from the existing teams as well. In the other element that also becomes very critical is we need to think also of integrated plans. I've seen a lot of great and fantastic sales managers take on more leadership roles, and they start saying, okay, the solution is to have an SDR desk, but why isn't it working? Or we're going to spend more on marketing. Why isn't it working? Your plans need to connect. You can't just see what someone is doing and say, I'm going to replicate that. If you don't have the right content, then your advertising isn't going to work, or your content marketing isn't going to work. If you don't have clear ROI, then your sales team cannot close or convert their deals as well. And I think it's also important to consider a little bit, from myself at least, consider educating also your organization's management about your role as sales as well. I'm fortunate that our CEO is a salesperson at heart, right? But sales is also a function where any department can contribute to. Finance knows sales, product knows sales, technology knows sales, HR knows sales, everyone knows sales. But if you want to look at it from a methodical perspective, you want to look at the science behind the sales itself. No one has there's no training program for a VP sales. Has anyone seen a training program for what a VP sales is? No, it's one of the toughest roles. You come in, and it's one of the most important hires that a founder could potentially make. There's no onboarding, there's no training, there's no coaching. Your average tenure is 12 to 18 months. And it's important when you're starting and you're building that team as well, that you explain to everyone. So, all right, great. So you want to start by hiring this team. Do you have sales operations? Do you have, do you have a VP marketing? Do you have a director of demand generation? Are you hiring anyone? A VP sales is an expensive role, and a lot of customers and organizations say, let's expand into Asia. Let's hire a director of sales there. And then 3 months later, it's like, that's too expensive. We haven't seen results. And then finally is just making sure that you target the right people. And it's a really, really hard thing this is, I would say, the biggest challenge, is finding the competent top salespeople that don't just have the skill or the experience, but also have the attitude. For me, I think, top salespeople, they don't complain or make excuses. They're independent, but they're still coachable. They're positive. They're motivated. They're highly organized and focused. But more importantly, they're self-disciplined, they're consistent, they aren't discouraged by failure, they're empathetic, they always want to improve. So knowing the profile of people that you have will help you in your selection process, rather than just saying, what was your previous track record? Great, you had a fantastic track record, but you're going to ruin the entire team dynamic. So it's a very, very complex topic, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, Rachel and Johannes, I'm sure they also have a lot of thoughts on this.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that idea about the people, about people that you come across. We talked before about the things that are that we think must be here now, the things that are, the ideas, the points that must be in place now for us to be successful. And yeah, if you can't see that, you mentioned motivation. I think it's just top priority for us at the moment, to be able to do this and sell through this time. And if you can't feel it, and if you don't leave a conversation with a person feeling their motivation back to you, then yeah, I guess you've got a bit of a people problem. Because yeah, it needs to be there, right? It's absolutely got to be. Yeah.
Yeah, true. And I have to say, it's very difficult to find those perfect sales that can join your team. I can tell you, I have people that will join by the end of the year. So we have managed to find some people. But I believe, and I fully agree with what you said, Noor. I believe also in how to say, coaching the people that join your team. Is to make them grow in knowledge and experience. I have not started as sales myself. I've learned, and I've learned with very, very professional people around me. Some of them are here on the call, and I've learned by myself. So that's what I try to do also in my team, is try to encourage them to grow in knowledge also, and to be a support for them. So I don't want to sell for the at their place, but I just give them advice and try to push them up, as I said in the beginning, so that they grow really in confidence. And because I don't think that I have hired some people who don't come from the translation sector.
Mhm.
And they come and they say, oh, what's translation? Okay, okay, language, okay, but they don't know what we do. So we see motivated people, we see people with experience in sales, but not in language industry. And our industry is so specific, is so demanding, is so hard to win, that you need to be perseverant, as you said, disciplined, organized, motivated, not give up after a failure. That's no deal, because failures happen, wins happen as well. So we have to be like that. We have to think on wins, but it's very important to make people grow within a team, within an organization, to give them the time to grow, and not after 2 months say, okay, there is no results, so we will fire the person. We need to see a lot of parameters and a lot of aspects in the profile of the person, saying, I believe in that person because he has the right motivation, he has the thrive to learn and to progress. So that there you can put money on, and
Thank you.
that's,
Empowerment is the
yeah,
key word here, right?
yeah.
Empowerment. And yeah, I'm a little bit conscious of time. I would like to use a word that is maybe the second most used word in this panel discussion. The first one is sales, and the second is connected. Jessica, are you there? Would you be so kind to launch the poll? I would like to involve the audience, and we have just 2 little questions, really quick. Please join the poll. And so if Jessica, or from the organization, if you're able to launch it, it's a good moment. We see coming up the first question. So I can just invite everyone to share with us very briefly, what's your role in your organization? Small, large, big, mid-sized, whatever. Please tell us, what's your role? Sales, management, marketing, technology. Are you a self-starter? Let me just take other. Okay. Of course, we have a lot of salespeople here. Not surprisingly, 38% from the management, 8% marketing people, and 13% other, maybe self-starters. Okay. Just, yeah, very good. Thank you for sharing. Second question will come up now. Please stay with us and share what is your business goal, your current business goal in your organization, whether small or large. Is it more growth? I know everyone wants to grow, but the main goal, what is your current focus? Is it growth or is it maybe scalability? You are already number one. Scalability, redefinition, or another one. Please share with us. Growth, yeah. Scalability, redefinition. Yeah, 12% are in redefinition phase or transformation phase. 57% growth. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this with us. Of course, growth. Yeah. But not only. It's not all about growth. Being conscious of time.
Nancy, I will jump in with the time warning.
Yep.
Since we are getting close to the session end, it's time for
yes.
Q&A.
Yes, before we go to the Q&A, one last question. I'm sure it's an interesting one. Please shoot very quickly what comes to your mind, the three of you. We talked now about this also selection of salespeople for the company, for the team, or even for a startup. Are there any key capabilities, skills that you want to highlight? Anything the people listening to us should look at? Or are there any new key capabilities important for a salesperson? Just shoot.
I will go. Oh, Rachel, you won't go?
Okay.
I think one important capability is in the assets of the salesperson is to have the technology background, language technology knowledge because we see that customers with this pandemic and with this digitalization of services.
Just make it very short. Just drop the word
Sorry.
technology background.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking more on the communication level. Those highly comfortable with all forms. So people that can use social so well, people that can navigate in the world all remote like this. We want to see good strength in that, and particularly on the social side, I think is really important, especially with those new young wave of buyers that we have now.
Thank you, Rachel. And Noor?
I think I think maybe just hire people who are smarter than you. That's something my CEO said.
Totally.
Smarter than you.
I see a lot of thumbs coming up and hearts and laughing. I can see you're good. Good one. Yeah. And then before we go in the Q&A, everyone here in the audience, prepare your questions. You can already type them in. Mladen will pick them up. Before we go to that, last question, any tools that you love that came up during the pandemic or that you would recommend?
I mean, I don't think this is something just specific to the pandemic. I'm a huge fan of SalesLoft. I think it's brilliant, and I don't advise it just from an email marketing perspective. It's just really useful to track how you're selling your emails for your customers, the links that they're clicking. For me, I think it's a very nice effectiveness tool.
I fully agree with you. No, we are using it also, and it is integrated with Salesforce and Sales Navigator as well. So we see the advantage of having all this integration with all these tools, because this is something that I would have dreamed to have when I was a BDM myself. So I say that to my team, please use it, because this is a help for you in your daily work and your daily life. It will ease up your work. You will gain time.
Any other recommendation, Johannes? Sorry to interrupt you. Any other tool that you've
That's the ones that we are using really: Salesforce, Salesloft, and also of course Sales Navigator. Yeah.
Rachel, anything that we didn't mention?
Yeah, it's similar systems like the Apollo tools. We've seen some fabulous results from.
Apollo IO, yeah. And maybe some from my side. I know everyone knows it and it's really simple, but this has changed the whole online meeting booking, Calendly, HubSpot, whichever tool you use.
Yeah.
Absolutely cool. Loom. I don't want to recommend brands, so it's Loom, Bonjour, whatever tool, but the video recording, sometimes video is stronger than 1,000 words. So instead of sending a long email or something went wrong, fix it with a Loom video or with a video. And I love Canva, but that's maybe more personal thing. If I want to post something and I don't have a professional marketeer to suggest it, and I can do really good things with Canva. But that's it. Here we go, Mladen. We go to the Q&A, and thank you already. But now we're waiting for
Yeah, you have mentioned content marketing in different contexts during the discussion. So the first question goes there. What role plays content marketing in your sales organization?
I can maybe shed in 30 seconds or less on this. The mandate I always discuss with our marketing team, and they're fantastic, is think the persona and think of content that would be interesting for them to read. I always just scroll and think, that's a really fantastic article, I want to read it. And if we can't post this content, there's no point in investing in it. And second, just relating to sales being more advisor role, your organization and your marketing needs to be more thought leadership based. If you cannot tell your customers things they did not know, they're not going to want to listen or speak with you.
Great. Any other questions, Mladen?
Yes. We saw through the pool that the growth is top priority of most organizations. So the question is, how did you develop the growth-oriented mindset across your organization?
Growth mindset. Yeah, I mean, growth mindset, because sales, we just said it at the beginning, sales is just the keyword. So it's about retention, good relationship with the customers, and growth. And most of the people in the audience have this main goal at the moment of growth. So a growth mindset across the whole organization and departments can help. Have you anything else that you would add to that?
I would add that we have to. If you see yourself as a sales leader, which I personally think you should be seeing in yourself, whatever department that you work in, then it's your absolute responsibility, and it is the responsibility of everyone in the organisation to believe in your organisation that it's going to grow. It's the natural outcome, and it's that we should be talking about it. We should be always talking about it. The fact that we are all in sales and it's all on us. So I think that as the sales leaders in your organisation, you've got to be the drivers. You've got to be the ones that are totally pushing this, but helping other people believe that they're owning it as well. I think is critical.
Yeah, sometimes project managers can be very good salespeople.
More touch points with the client than anyone else.
Yeah, definitely. Rachel, there is another question for you.
Oh.
Yeah, if you can share 3 things which caused the growth of the big word.
Yeah, okay, so I'll just yeah, I do think that the answer to the previous question is a big, massive answer to that question. In that, I work at the big word, but yeah, I've experienced a lot of growth in the years that I've been there, and you see
of course, nobody expects that you will disclose
why
any
not?
kind of confidential.
You talked about growth
information.
mindset. It's not confidential, but growth. Having everybody believe and having everybody be involved and everybody owning it. That is absolutely one of the core reasons. Kicking out things, and this is absolutely in the DNA of the organisation, that if there's something negative, we've got something negative going on, then we want to kick it out. There's something that's negative, COVID itself. Let's find the positives. Let's find the ways that we're going to do it. We talked.
Cool. I have to interrupt you here because we are running out of time, and there is one more question. Do you see cold calls going unused, especially now with people working from home? It's partially answered during the discussion, as far as I know.
I have seen that cold calls were less effective in the last months, really, to be honest, because people in my team could not join, could not touch people they wanted by phone. So the most efficient way was really the meetings, planning the meetings by emails and then having the discussion. Really, I've seen that in the number of meetings that we have done. In September, we have done 60 meetings with the two teams of Benelux here in Accolade, and without too much effort, to be honest. So Teams meetings or Zoom, etc., are most efficient at cold calls, even though with the pandemic, as we go out from the pandemic, I think cold calling must not be abandoned, but let's find another way to be closer to prospects and clients.
Absolutely. Any more questions, Laden? I think we are at the end of the time.
You need to wave your clock.
Does anyone know?
It was amazing. Thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Don't make